Hey everyone, welcome to Nick's Corner. I'm Nick, you're in my corner. Today we're going to talk about adaptations of The Shining. So, I didn't get to watch the TV series. I have looked for it for the past little bit, trying to watch it so that I could talk to you all about what that was about. But all I got is Stanley Kubrick film and the book. So, let's talk about that. We start off the movie pretty much the same way as the books are started off with Jack going in and meeting his current employer, which is at the Overlook Hotel. Of course, Jack has a lot of inner dialogue that he doesn't like these people, but that's quite all right. We don't get a whole pile of inner dialogue in the movie, but we do see Jack kind of starting to go a little stir crazy a lot quicker than he does in the book. Um, I find Wendy to be kind of meek in Stanley Kubrick's film, where she is a protective mama bear in the book. Um, Also, the book has Jack being an unreliable narrator. We don't know where he is, if he's talking truth or false. We don't know. He's kind of all over the place. Um, we also get to meet Dick Halloran, which is an awesome character. I love him. I think he's one of my favorite Stephen King characters, like Judd is from over at Pet Sematary. The secondary characters he writes are always so phenomenal. And when I was wanting more, I was happy with the ending of the book compared to the ending of the movie. Um, we also see Jack go a little stir crazy really quickly, which does not happen in the books, and that was kind of annoying. Um, he used to be an alcoholic, and he had an issue with a kid in the book who he ended up beating up because the kid was vandalizing his vehicle. Um, and it's one of those things that is kind of touched upon a lot in the book, and it's never mentioned in the movie. Jack mentions that he has uh, been 4 months on the wagon, which to me means that it's been about 4 months since he beat up that kid. So that hasn't been a lot of time change. We also got the hedge mage with maze with instead of topiary animals. Now, to me, the topiary animals were some of the scariest parts of the book. I loved it very much, but yeah, the hedge maids was a very interesting add-in. I think the topiary animals were freakier. Uh, Danny and Dick talk about The Shine, which I think is phenomenal. I love any interaction between Danny and Dick Halloran. They are phenomenal characters, and I love the way this book builds them up and gives us more information about The Shining. Now, I had a question. Is Tony good or is he bad? He is Danny's voice for The Shine, but I can't tell because he's always like, shh, don't tell anyone, and stuff like that. So, um, even in Doctor Sleep, he is a little off, but we'll talk about that in Doctor Sleep. Um, we also have Danny tricycling all over the hotel, which I think is phenomenal. We hear about room 237, which is, of course, the room where Danny gets throttled by the lady that's in there. Um, and as the family explores the grounds, we see Jack kind of starting to sink into isolation. I think we're all starting to feel a little Jack Torrancy these days with all the self isolation that we all have to do and the quarantining these days. But it was one of those things that in the book it takes a little bit longer for his isolation to kind of get to him, and I think the movie kind of pushes it along a lot quicker, which is sort of annoying. Danny sees the twins. I don't think that that happens in the book. I think the twins are mentioned at the beginning of the book to Jack Torrance when the Overlook manager is kind of talking to him, telling him about past stuff that has happened. And of course, Jack has nightmares about killing his family. And Danny ends up being in room 237, gets throttled, and this is where we finally see Wendy becoming that protective mama bear that she's always been in the book. But she is so quick to turn around and not really worry about that, which kind of bugged me a bit because Judy Duvall did an amazing job playing Wendy, but I found her too meek. She wasn't... In the book, Jack accidentally broke Danny's arm. He mentions it when he's at the bar, and this was like years ago, and we don't know how many times he's actually broken Danny's arm. Like, this could have happened many times. We don't know, but it at least happened once, and because of that, Wendy is always protective of Danny from Jack, even when Jack is sober. And that's one of the things that I feel like is missed out upon from the book to the movie, is the character difference from there. In the movie, we find Jack falls into the hotel's illusion by drinking the metaphorical Kool-Aid or the liquor at the desk. Even though there is none there, he is imagining it, and that is kind of giving him the opportunity to fall off the wagon again inside of his own head, and makes him go a little crazy. And as the hotel gains its favor with Jack's delusions, it always shows his fears and then softens it with booze. So when it shows like Danny getting throttled, Jack was really worried about that for a second. He was like, how did my kid get throttled? This doesn't make sense. And then Wendy turning it on him, he's like, whoa, I didn't do anything. At least this time around he didn't. And he kind of feels that way, but then all of a sudden he's at the bar and Lloyd is pouring him booze. So there is always that. The hotel does become direct with Jack in an effort to get Danny. This happens with Mr. Grady in the film, and I believe it's similar in the book. Yeah, so sorry about that, my film stopped. Jack is more upfront with Mr. Grady, and they do try to push for Jack to get Danny in the book a little bit more. Jack is also using a roque mallet in the book as opposed to an axe. So there is no chopping down doors or anything like that in the book. But he is quite violent with the roque mallet. I think he takes out Dick Halloran's teeth or something and knocks him out. Also, Dick felt unsafe for Danny, so he came to the Overlook. Danny ended up screaming for him in his mind with the shine, which was fantastic. At the end, we see Jack go off the deep end, and I feel Jack fights the hotel more in the book than he does in the movie. We also get to see Red Rum finally played out and explained, where it's kind of mentioned throughout the book. And in this, the ending, the Overlook freezes, as opposed to Jack not being able to dump the boiler and it exploding. It was one of the things that I found to be quite interesting. However, I like the idea of Dick surviving more at the end, because he plays a big role in Dr. Sleep, which is fantastic, and I really like the difference for that. So that is my adaptation of The Shining. I will probably touch more on it and do a second video if I ever get to find the TV series, because I would like to touch on that as well. But for now, that's where I'm going to leave this off. Thank you all for joining me, and thank you for your time in watching these videos. It means a lot to me, and I hope you guys are all staying safe. Have a great day, and try not to go crazy in isolation. Okay? No Jack Dorn stuff. Okay, bye.